Good evening, children. How are you all? I hope everyone are doing fine. And I also hope that you have written your science exam very well. And we have did many revisions so that it would have helped you to write answers without seeing. Okay. So today we will be starting with the new chapter, that is chapter number 10, Respiration in Organisms. Okay, we shall see basic introduction to the chapter, and also we will see why do we respire. What is the reason? Why do we want to respire? Okay, so let's begin. So children, you know that there's a two friends. There are two friends called as Bojo and Peli. So Bojo was very eagerly waiting to meet his grandparents who were coming to town after a year. So he was waiting for a grandparents to come back to his place. Okay. So he was in a real hurry as he wanted to receive them at the bus stop. So he was so hurry that he wanted to receive their grandparents at bus stop. Okay. So what he did was he ran fast and reached the bus stop in very few minutes. Okay, so he was breathing rapidly. His grandmother asked him why he was breathing so fast. So Bojo told her that he came running all the way. But the question got stuck in his mind was he wondered why running makes a person breathe faster, isn't it? So when you have a running race, you run very fast to win the medal or trophy, right? And once the game is stopped, once the race is stopped, you feel like breathing faster, right? You breathe faster. So the answer to this question lies in the understanding why we breathe. So breathing is a part of respiration. So let us learn about respiration in this chapter in detail. Okay. So here in the picture you can see the kids are running, and in second picture you can see the arrow mark indicates that you are taking what you inhale, that is oxygen, right? So the gas you are inhaling, okay, you are taking it in. Fine. So let us see why do we respire. Before that, so in chapter 2 we have learned that all organisms are made up of small microscopic units called cell. Okay, how do you define cell as children? Cell is a structural and functional unit of all living organisms. Okay, and a cell is a very small structural and functional unit of an organism. Each cell of an organism performs certain function, such as we have learned, that is nutrition, transport, excretion, and also reproduction, isn't it? One cell divides to give rise to two cells, so that is how the reproduction takes place. To perform these functions, the cell needs energy. So ಎಲ್ಲ ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಕ್ಯಾರಿ ಔಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂದರೆ ಸೆಲ್ಗೆ ಏನು ಬೇಕು? ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಬೇಕು ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಸೊ ಟು ಪರ್ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ದೀಸ್ ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ ದ ಸೆಲ್ ನೀಡ್ಸ್ energy. Even when we are eating or sleeping or reading, we need energy. We require energy. But by the way, where does this energy come from? Can you say why your parents insist that you should eat regularly and tell not to skip the food? Why do they tell so? So the food has a stored energy, isn't it? So which is released during respiration. So that's the reason all living organisms respire to get energy from the food. So what happens during breathing? So normally you are breathing now. Okay, we breathe in air. So you know that air contains oxygen. So we breathe out air which is rich in carbon dioxide, isn't it? So the air we breathe in is transported to all parts of the body and ultimately to each cell. So in the cell what happens? Oxygen in the air helps in breakdown of food. So the process of breakdown of food in the cell with the release of energy is called cellular respiration. So what do you call it as children? So it is a process where the food has been breaking down. Okay, so you have chapati in the morning. Okay, so initially that chapati, when you chew in mouth, it is off digested. Off in the sense, the complex material of chapati is breaking down into a fine paste. So with the help of teeth and tongue, you chew it. The saliva mixes with chapati, and it breaks down into a simpler substance, isn't it? So the breakdown of food finally it takes place, reaches to the cell. Okay, so with the release of energy is called cellular respiration. This cellular respiration takes place in the cells of all organisms. If you take any living organism, unicellular or multicellular, okay, cellular respiration takes place in cells of all living organisms. Okay, so in the cell, the food glucose. Okay, so when you take in food, for example chapati, it has broken down into simpler substance to give out glucose. Okay, finally it gives out glucose. Next, what happens, this glucose is broken down into carbon dioxide and water using oxygen. Okay, so with the help of oxygen, so when breakdown of glucose occurs with the use of oxygen, it is called aerobic respiration. Aerobic means presence of oxygen. So totally you see here there are two types of respiration, that is aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. What do you mean by aerobic respiration? It is presence of air. Okay, so when breakdown of glucose occurs in the use of oxygen, it is called aerobic respiration. Okay, so we shall see aerobic respiration first. So when breakdown of glucose occurs with the use of oxygen, it is called aerobic respiration. So food can also be broken down without using oxygen. Okay, so without using oxygen, it is anaerobic. So what happens in aerobic respiration? It is making use of oxygen. Okay, so like glucose. So in the presence of oxygen, what happens? It utilizes the oxygen, and carbon dioxide, water, and energy is released. So what happens with anaerobic respiration? So you should know that there are some organisms such as yeast, that is fungi, so that can survive in the absence of air, so that can live without oxygen. They can survive without oxygen, absence of air. So there such organisms are said to be anaerobes. Okay, they get energy through anaerobic respiration. So in the absence of oxygen, what happens? Glucose will break down into alcohol and carbon dioxide. Okay, so ultimately it gives glucose. In case of muscle, is stored in the muscle. In the absence of oxygen, what happens? It gives rise to lactic acid and energy. So yeast, to tell about yeasts are single-celled organism. They respire anaerobically, and during this process they yield alcohol. They give rise to alcohol. So they are therefore used to make wine and beer also. Okay, so widely used in baking industry also. Yeast is widely used in the manufacture of bread and all. You might have heard that. Okay, our muscle cells can also respire anaerobically. That means in the absence of air, the muscle cells will respire, but only for short time. Okay, it is not for long time, it is only for short time. So when there is a temporary deficiency of oxygen during heavy exercise, what happens? Fast running, or when you are cycling, when you are walking for many hours, or heavy lift, when you lift heavy weighted one. Okay, so the demand for energy will be high. So but the supply of oxygen to produce energy is limited. Okay, then anaerobic respiration takes place in the muscle cells to fulfill the demand of energy. Okay, so in muscles ಅಲ್ಲಿ energy glucose store ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. So in absence of oxygen, what happens? It gives out lactic acid and energy. Okay, so sometimes we get muscle cramps if you do heavy exercise continuously. If we do heavy exercise, what happens? We get muscle cramps. So the cramps occurs when muscle cells respire anaerobically. ಯಾವಾಗ ಮಸಲ್ ಕ್ರಾಂಪ್ಸ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದರೆ, ಸೊ ವೆನ್ ದ ಸೆಲ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ಮಸಲ್ಸ್ ವಿಲ್ ರೆಸ್ಪೈರ್ anaerobically. Okay, so the partial breakdown of glucose will produce lactic acid. So the accumulation of lactic acid causes muscle cramps. So lactic acid ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇದ್ದಾಗ ಮಸಲ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಮಸಲ್ ಕ್ರಾಂಪ್ ಅಕ್ಕರ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. Okay, so we get relief from cramps after a hot water bath or a massage. So exercise ಮಾಡಿದ್ಮೇಲೆ usually we should take bath, that too hot water bath. So if we do that, so our muscles get relaxed. When we do massage also, it get relaxed. Can you guess why? So hot water bath or massage improves circulation of blood. Okay, so hot water bath ಮಾಡೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಏನು ಯೂಸ್ ಅಂದರೆ blood circulation ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. Okay, as a result the supply of oxygen to the muscle cells will increase. Fine. So the increase in the supply of oxygen results in the complete breakdown of lactic acid into carbon dioxide and water. So hot water bath ಅಥವಾ ಮಸಾಜ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ಸಪ್ಲೈ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮಸಲ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ಸಪ್ಲೈ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆದಾಗ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಲ್ಯಾಕ್ಟಿಕ್ ಆಸಿಡ್ ಅಕ್ಯುಮುಲೇಟ್ ಆಗಿರೋದೆಲ್ಲ ಬ್ರೇಕ್ ಡೌನ್ ಆಗಿ ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಡೈಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಮತ್ತು ವಾಟರ್ ಆಗಿ ಕನ್ವರ್ಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ಯುವರ್ ಟುಡೇಸ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಚಿಲ್ಡ್ರನ್, ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ importance of respiration and basic introduction to the respiration and why do we respire, and also we saw the types of respiration. Okay, and now the difference between aerobic and anaerobic respiration. Okay, so this is about your chapter. Fine. So worksheet will be sent along with this video. Do solve it and have a good day, children.